Who can say no to an Eddie G. Film Noir triple feature? That's what you're getting with Film Noir, The Dark Side of Cinema 17 from Kino Lorber. You could call this box set the Edward G. Robinson Film Noir Showcase, or maybe the Forgotten Eddie G. Okay, so these may not be Edward G. Robinson's finest cinematic moments. We're not talking about Rico Bandello in Little Caesar or Barton Keyes in Double Indemnity, but Robinson is always worth watching. This 17th volume of Kino Lorber's Dark Side of Cinema series contains 3 largely overlooked film noir titles and is one of the stronger recent additions to the collection. I'm Andy Wolverton, this is Journeys in Darkness and Light, and today I'll take a brief look at each movie in this box set. We start with Vice Squad, also known as The Girl in Room 17 from 1953, directed by Arnold Lavin. When a movie opens with a pair of criminals having way too much trouble jacking a car, things are about to go wrong quickly, and they do. Al Barkas and Pete Monte make their getaway, but not before shooting an inquisitive cop. But Jack Hartranft, an undertaker, witnessed the murder. Gotta love that an undertaker witnessed the murder. Might be good for business. But wouldn't you know it, Hartranft, a married man, observed the crime while exiting room 17 of a nearby apartment building after an adulterous liaison. So he's not talking, but he sure is sweating a lot. In the meantime, Al and Pete await the arrival of the rest of their gang to plan the details for their upcoming bank heist, which, if it goes the way of the carjacking, does not bode well. Everyone's on board with Al's plan except for Marty, who gets cold feet, fearing the cop might die, connecting Marty to a murder rep. At the police station, Captain Barney Barnaby, yeah, that's his real name, has to deal with a woman who claims a phony Italian count is fleecing her. Then there's a convicted felon trying to sell Barnaby information in hopes of reducing a burglary charge, and of course Mr. Hartranft's unwillingness to talk. Barnaby's manner lets the audience know he's seen such shenanigans dozens of times during his career. Robinson could pull off this type of role in his sleep, and although he was still trying to find his way after the HUAC hearings, he didn't phone this one in. The various hijinks at the station reminded me of Detective Story from 1951, a higher prestige film that's better than this one, but maybe not as much fun. Vice Squad has a great cast including Barry Kelly, Percy Helton, and Paulette Goddard as a local madam. Goddard's career had fallen on hard times by this point, making only a handful of films after Vice Squad. I initially couldn't make the equation Goddard plus madam equals believability work out, but she makes it seem doable. Unfortunately, she's on screen for all of 5 minutes, which probably meant she was contracted to work for only a couple of days. The production team of director Arnold Lavin and producers Jules Levy and Arthur Gardner enjoyed an effective low-budget first feature in Without Warning from 1952, also starring Adam Williams and Edward Benz, before making Vice Squad. Levy, Garner, Lavin Productions continued making films and TV shows, particularly 2 popular Western series, The Rifleman and The Big Valley. Although I found Vice Squad the weakest picture in this collection, it's still very enjoyable. The Gary Girani audio commentary covers a lot of ground involving the film's production, actors, creators, and more. He moves quickly, so prepare yourself. Next up, Black Tuesday from 1954, directed by Hugo Frigonesi. Black Tuesday is one of the angriest, grittiest, most unflinching movies in all of film noir, due in large part to Edward G. Robinson's stellar performance as Vincent Kennelly, a ruthless and utterly terrifying gangster. As the film opens, Kennelly is trapped behind bars, awaiting Black Tuesday, the day death row inmates are scheduled for the electric chair. Kennelly paces back and forth like a caged animal, daring anyone to get close enough to his cell, which one guard does to his regret. Not only does Kennelly show no signs of fear or remorse, he delights in intimidating anyone within the sound of his voice, including fellow inmates, the warden, a priest, and probably even God himself. Also scheduled to join him is Peter Manning, played by Peter Graves, a man who killed a cop and made off with $200,000. Manning is nowhere near as hardened as Kennelly, but Manning has some prime bargaining power. He knows where the money is stashed, and the warden is willing to grant Manning 10 more days of life if he'll cough up the dough. Yet Manning refuses to budge for anything less than a commutation of his death sentence. And then something happens to upset everything. I covered this film in a separate review, which you can find linked to in the notes. This is my favorite film in the set, and I think you'll enjoy it too. The stories and novels of Cornell Woolrich have given Hollywood a wealth of material. Woolrich excelled at coming up with great ideas, often to the detriment of logic and believability, but few writers could match his levels of paranoia and suspense. Everyone is familiar with the most famous adaptation of a Woolrich property, Rear Window from 1954, but there's also Phantom Lady, The Window, The Chase, No Man of Her Own, The Bride Wore Black, Never Open That Door, recently reviewed on my Substack, and many more. Woolrich could place his characters in precarious situations with no easy answers, and the best adaptations build on these strengths, but again, not always in the most believable ways. Which brings us to the final film in the box set, Nightmare, directed by Maxwell Shane. The film's source material, a Woolrich story called And So to Death, was also the basis for director Shane's earlier film, Fear in the Night, from 1947, starring DeForest Kelley, who went on to become this guy. Here, he's a bank teller who dreams he's killed a man in a room filled with mirrors. In the remake, it's Kevin McCarthy playing the jazz clarinetist Stan Grayson, who has the dream. He also wakes up with blood on his hand, a mark on his neck, and a key from his nightmare. Stan can't shake the dream and tells his brother-in-law, homicide detective Rene Broussard, played by Robinson, the story. Rene poo-poos Stan's tale in a way that only Robinson can do, and chalks it all up to stress, but warns Stan not to bring any of this crazy talk up in front of Stan's sister Sue, played by Virginia Christie, who's pregnant. The film contains several moments asking or demanding the audience to suspend disbelief. Maybe it's more proper to say building a bridge over a raging river of disbelief, but just go with it. Even if believability is low, entertainment value is high. Jason Nye's commentary focuses on Woolrich's work, the differences between the two films, and more. He does a fine job of balancing information and thoughts on what's happening on screen and the backgrounds of the film's cast and crew, particularly during this interesting chapter in Robinson's life. While none of these films are perfect, this is a terrific set, and you should pick it up, especially if you're an Edward G. Robinson fan. Thanks for watching, and I'll have a new releases video coming up pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. Everybody take care, stay safe, and watch some great film noir.